And now to wrap up the first half, we have 7 Hex. 7 Hex is a transsexual who is opposed to self-identification. She will be talking about the potential impact of self-identification, building a network and the challenges faced. 7 was very active on Twitter but has been suspended, is that right? Is now active on Facebook and has set up a blog with the aim of building a transsexual advocacy group promoting trans rights and women's rights.
Thank you. Hello, how are we? Okay, just before I go, small trigger warning, I do have a propensity to profane. I will endeavour to do my best to make sure if I do it isn't gratuitous. So yeah, last year, no, a year past October is when I got really into this debate. I started on Twitter, now not for this, I actually got involved for Scottish independence, but you know, that's another story, another time. And I happened upon an argument that had appeared on my feed. And I kind of got involved, and I lost. But the thing is that what I quickly became aware of is that the perspective that I was arguing from was so much more narrow than the information that I was getting coming at me. There was clearly an awful lot that I didn't understand, that I didn't know, and so I went away and had a look, and I was horrified. I was absolutely horrified about what was happening, essentially in my name. As a transsexual, you sort of, you know, these people come over with this umbrella and just kind of, right, you know, you're ours, okay. You know, you don't really pay attention, you know, okay, yeah, whatever. Go on, do your life. I was never really a big part of the trans community at all, just, you know, too busy doing other things. And then we hear of self-ID coming along. Now, Shan asked where this all came from. And there is a bit of an answer to that. It's not a complete answer, but it goes down to the Gender Recognition Act itself. Now, the thing about the Gender Recognition Act is that, firstly, it's ill-conceived. And it was certainly ill-prepared. And it was certainly poorly constructed. The language in it is just really weak. And, you know, it can be distorted to mean a great deal of things. And it has and is being distorted. But when the Gender Recognition Act came into being, or was being proposed, the specialists at the time suggested that at the point it was going to be reviewed, this would be a piece of legislation that would impact around 5,000 people's lives. At the time of review, the number who had obtained the gender recognition certificate was 4,910. So even though the piece of legislation itself was pretty crap, it was really well predicted. They had a good understanding of the number of people that this was likely to affect. Now, what the Gender Recognition Act did do was give people like me a little bit of additional, you know, protections in society. It gives a bit of privacy, so they wouldn't really need to disclose who we were at every given opportunity. And there's a lot of people who don't like that, and those people are the ones for whom the gatekeeping would have kept them out, who would have done their job. The gatekeeping would have done its job. You know, psychiatrists, all the rest of it, all that kind of the process that you need to follow with all those exit points that tell you, right, okay, well actually you're not transsexual, you're this, you're actually suffering this other condition. As we all know, resistance is pretty high. You know, people who start down the journey, not everyone ends there, and it's particularly in children, where resistance can be up as high as like 96% in some places, in many cases. However, we all of a sudden get told, oh no, the Gender Recognition Act isn't working, it's failing a lot of people. I'm sorry, but nobody asked us. Nobody said, hey, listen, transsexuals out there, how's it going? Everything okay? I mean, yeah, it's not a perfect piece of legislation. You could say, you know, you could tighten up the language a little, you know, just make sure it's a bit more clear about what, you know, what it is, you know, we're trying to achieve here. But to turn around and say it wasn't working, and in fact it had to accommodate nearly 500,000 plus people, You're like, what? You know, where did all these people come from? You know, why weren't they predicted back in 2004 when this piece of legislation came about? And it's simply that. It's the fact that a lot of people, particularly fetishistic men who like to get their jollies on a Wednesday in their office or whatever, it's to give them what we essentially got out of the Gender Recognition Act. And of course, they couldn't get it. So rather than try and beat the gatekeeping, they want to try and remove it. Just do away with it altogether. Gone. And that's what self-ID is. It's this idea that we are what we say we are. You know, and it's I had my thing up earlier. It's this hegemonic idea that, you know, people can just decide what they are and have access to whatever they feel they need to have access to. And woe betide anybody that stands in their way. As we can all have heard, Chantel is from the shrinkage of women's spaces. They're getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Angelos, you know, women's voices are being silenced. You know? And Emma, you know, the sports as well, everything is getting attacked. And it's all under this self-ID. And one wonders, you know, how did it get so far? How were so many people duped? Now, I personally wasn't, like, I'll admit, I wasn't paying attention. You know, I wasn't paying attention to what the trans community was up to, and I should have been, and I wasn't, and I do apologise. But just out of curiosity, you know, how many, when self-ID was first proposed, and people started hearing about it, and what it was going to do, I mean, how many people in this room actually thought, oh yeah, that's great? No? You were all peak trans before this? It's a good audience. Although it does mean that there's nobody here ever changing their minds. I suppose it's a little bit of an echo chamber. But, you know.
I think it's because we didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
But the thing is that it was draped in all these beautiful colours and, you know, all these glitter and glamour, oh, self-ID, you know. And of course, off the back of, you know, gay rights and, you know, the advances that they made there, especially with equal marriage. You know, everybody really wants to be on top of what is progressive and what is next. And of course we have, or it hasn't actually, I just want to pick up on something else actually, so second he talks about, you know, social bias. And sometimes that's ideological bias. The idea, because what happens is that we have an uninterested, inattentive proletariat. You know, everyone's so busy, but heads buried in their phones. You know, nobody really wants to think. You know, maybe turn on the news at 6 o'clock and get their daily dose of here's what we want you to think today. And they just follow, all right, okay, yeah. Self-ID, sure, go, yeah. They don't really think. They don't want to think. People don't want to have to challenge their own ideas. Or even form their own ideas. They want to get told, here's your idea, here's your opinion, go follow it. And self-ID has been really good at duping people and getting people sucked in. Because it looks fantastic, it sounds really progressive and woke as fuck. So it's about to happen. So, you know, and it's not until you scratch away and say, alright, okay, well, what does that bit actually mean? You know, you begin to think, well, this isn't really good at all. You know, and we see the manifestations of what self-ID is doing. I mean, it's not even law yet. And we have the bloody Karen Whites and Jacinta Brooks and all these other bangers, you know, kidding on their women and kidding, to the point they're kidding on their trans. They're not. You know, there's no, objective way that these people could say they're trans, unless, of course, they're saying they're transgender, which of course means absolutely nothing. It doesn't mean anything. It's an umbrella term, allegedly. So they tell us, you know. And it's supposed to cover ourselves and intersex people. Now, of course, this is where they get the legitimacy from, because whenever you see some of their articles in their defence, they'll always they'll always use us, transsexuals. Oh, but transsexuals do this, transsexuals need that. Oh, yeah, okay. But it's also a term that they're trying to do away with. They're trying to demedicalise us. They're trying to suggest that transsexual is this arcane and outdated term. And again, nobody asked us. You know, hey, hi there, how do you feel about the word transsexual? Yeah, we're good. You know, no, we were getting this transgender foisted upon us. And it's really, really dangerous. Bless you.
Thank you.
It's really, really dangerous. Everything is being opened up, and if we look at some of the arguments that come out of this, the cotton ceiling, for example. Have you ever heard of anything so fucking disgusting in your life? It's disgraceful, and the fact that people buy into this, and all right, yeah. And there are people who hold courses on how to encourage lesbians to take dick. I mean, come on. I mean, this is happening. How do we... And all this stuff is being normalised, and whenever you try and challenge it, whenever you tell people, no, actually, do you know what, that's not on, well, you get silenced. You know. I'm certainly silenced on Twitter. Was done so on my second day on Facebook, but I won that argument. I think many people have been silenced, no doubt many people here have been silenced at many an occasion. And there are very, very legitimate concerns about what is going on. Even down to, you know, I'm just looking at the list of what we're discussing tonight. So, when we talk of policies of political parties, now, we're going into all-women shortlists here. Now, I have no place on an all-women shortlist. I never for one second believed I would have. I would never even have dreamt of applying on an all-women shortlist, and I would certainly never have expected any other transsexual to do so. I think it's very strange. Now, would I like to see a trans person in politics? Nah, I don't care. If they're good at what they do, sure. You know. But to railroad and sort of gate crash the opportunities that are presented to women is fundamentally wrong. You know, I am not a woman. As born male, I don't have the experiences that women have growing up. You know, of school, the bullying in school, the uncertainty through puberty, growing up into adulthood, perpetual sexism. I don't have those experiences. I can't take that to a political table and effect change. That's not for me to do. That place is not for me. That's for female-born women with those experiences. So whenever I even dreamed of it, the fact that we've got, what, how many in Labour? 2 or 3 now on the Jill Cox programme for women. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, trans people are opposed to self-ID. Yeah, I'm one of them. There's quite a few of us out there. At the moment we're a bit disjointed. Getting transsexuals together can be a bit like herding cats. You know, we're a bit of a nightmare. We kind of just sort of doss off and do our own thing. And apart from being transsexual, we get fuck all else in common. So, trying to get some sort of cohesive group together can prove quite difficult. I'm working on it. But we do have, you know, sort of foundations of it. There's a core group of us who are just like, nah, we can't be doing with this anymore. And if you read some of my, some of the stuff on the blogs, what I talk about is, at the moment, what self-ID and the sort of trans lobby have done is weaponised dysphoria, weaponised gender or sex dysphoria, as I prefer to call it, for the patriarchy, for men. You know, we've become a tool and a weapon for men, and we can't, that was never our intention. And we can't allow that to happen. So what we want to do is essentially turn that on its head and become a weapon and a tool for women. So in the fullness of time, so for example, there are a number of us, so I no longer use female spaces at all. None of them. And there are a number of us out there who are doing the same, because ultimately that way, if you women are in, in a space and there's some dick in there acting out, essentially what's going to happen if self-ID comes in, you cannot challenge that person. However, if you can turn around and say, well, actually these transsexuals over here, you can use us as a weapon, as a benchmark that you can tell these people, get the fuck out. Challenge their behaviour in your own spaces. And so that's what I'm certainly hoping to do, and certainly hoping to get off the ground. I do have some support out there. Self-ID needs to be stopped. It's an ideological virus. We need to cure it. We need to get rid of it. We need to wake people up to understand what it actually is. Again, sure, it might look great, it might sound fantastic and progressive, but it's not. Underneath it all, it is an attack on women, an attack on your rights, an attack on your spaces. And we can certainly see that when we talk about Shan, saying women's spaces are being reduced. And that's happening on many fronts within the Youth Hosteling Association. How many young women out there get end up with some burly guy in a wig and makeup, and they can't challenge it? And of course, if anything does happen, it's recorded as women on women crime. I mean, for fuck's sake. It's not. So yes, we need people to wake up to this. And I think more importantly, well, not more importantly, but certainly importantly, we need men to wake up to this. Men normally don't care. They don't see it. They don't see the problems. Because they're not part of it. They're not affected by it. They just think we're all, muttering the aye. That's that. I mean, how many of us have had that from male partners? Right? Haven't got a fucking clue. Not a clue. So yeah, and the thing is when we talk about voices being silenced, it's events like this we need more of. So for as long as the social media groups, and even to a certain extent the mainstream media, the press media, so for as long as they don't really pay attention to this, and for as long as they silence our voices, I mean, take Nick Williams from Fair Play for Women, who was disinvited from the BBC debate with Rachel McKinnon. What the actual fuck? It's ridiculous. So it's going to be events like this. Back to basics, back to old school sedition. Sewing in pockets and passing bits of paper about. But yeah, we need more. A lot more events like that. So you guys can go out and say, was at this event last night? Here's what was said. And then by the time you get the footage up and running, you can say, go have a look. And because nobody can police, they can't stop word of mouth. They can't set an algorithm against that. People on the street, nobody can report you automatically. Although they're trying. I dare say, they won't be able to. And we need to make sure that they can't. We need to make sure that words mean what they're supposed to mean. And who knows, we'll get out of this mess yet. Thank you.
That was brilliant. Thanks very much, Seven.